G'day, I'm Ash, and some news happened in the War Thunder community, at least in terms of the War Thunder player union, where the Discord was basically raided overnight. Leadership's changed hands so many times, and the last person to have leadership had then removed a bunch of other admins and a bunch of other people. If you're unaware of what the War Thunder player union Discord was, it was a place where over 12,000 people were communally hanging out and discussing their player union sort of thing. Which again, the whole entire boycott had already failed. What hadn't failed was the Steam review bombs. That's what got Guardian to lesson. The player union itself hasn't actually had clear leadership or a clear vision for some time, and even though I advised them early on, I kind of distanced myself from the boycott because it was something of a hysterical nature, and it just didn't really work in the way that I expected a traditional union to behave. Essentially, look at my community post, you'll see why I distanced myself basically a day after the union was established, because I could just definitely see that the writing was on the wall. And in this case, well, the community Discord basically completely and utterly shut down. Anyway, it reminds me of a story in about 2015 or 2017, pre-pandemic, when the fuel prices in the country went up about 35%. And prior to the pandemic happening, increases hadn't really topped minus, give or take, 2% per week. Anyway, a small percentage of the population, relatively to our population, which is about 26 million, decided that they'd protest these fuel prices by not buying fuel on a single specific day. Spent a week and a half organising and rallying the protests, and it got the attention of some 200,000 or more people. And they were planning to not buy fuel for just one single day. The intentions were sound, but the idea was dumb, because everyone that needed fuel but refused to buy it on that day would simply buy it the next day. In the end, the protest did nothing to change the fuel prices. That is what a protest is. Review bombing is a great idea because it negatively affects and impacts the chances that new players will join the game. A server blackout won't do anything because everyone who is addicted to the game will be on the next day. And if you don't think Guardian already knows that, then you have no idea how to solve the problem. And this was echoed and a comment that I found by Bloodknife92 on Reddit. But still, like, his words ring true. We did have a bit of a protest, looked up some of the interesting things that happened. And what ended up by happening? Absolutely fucking nothing. So the War Thunder boycott has entirely failed from a War Thunder player union perspective, but not from a Steam bombing perspective. They actually have basically listened to our concerns, and whether or not they will actually do anything is up to this upcoming roadmap, which I hope addresses some of the core issues that War Thunder potentially has. And I say potentially because it appears a lot of people are on the same boat with some of the regards to changes, and that is bloody apparent in many of the Steam reviews. Obviously, it's been pretty quiet over the last 2 weeks as we've sort of quieted down from that massive period of heightened, intense sort of, disliking of the game. I just hope that this doesn't trail out and goes and doesn't, fake us out for what a roadmap could be. So, what could potentially be on a roadmap that would signify to the community that they are actually willing to work with us? Well, they put out an apology. They did tell us how free-to-play games work in a condescending manner. That was quite entertaining. There was another set of subject of things they were also looking at, and then they obviously have started to address some of the more gameplay issues, and obviously have a proper question and answer period, which had a bunch of questions from the content creators and a wider range of the community with some interesting questions. Although it didn't necessarily skirt around the major concerns and major issues that many people had, but that's perfectly okay. For once, it was an actual question answer with actual answers that didn't just say, we'll look into it further, moving on anyway. What I hoped for them to really address is the economy multiplier, because in other free-to-play games, World of Tanks, World of Warships, you can play the game for free and still earn somewhat of a mainstream economy. What I've been noticing recently, and after doing some of the math, it is virtually impossible to earn some form of silver after a certain period of time, because the multipliers don't allow you to really, play a game efficiently. For example, spawning into Sim, for example, it costs you silver to start off. Sometimes it costs you 20,000 silver just to play the game. And what if you don't have 20,000 silver to play around with? I know it's a meaningless amount, but comparatively to what repair costs were, almost 6 to 7 months ago. I feel like the economy changes, and the reason why we boycotted was because, well, they keep shoving, smaller changes over a longer period of time. So hopefully what the roadmap addresses is what they're going to do, how they're going to change the economy, what are their plans for that, what do they plan to address on these concerns, and more importantly, are they going to introduce a system like they used to do for economy with a daily reward system rather than the bonuses? Or are they going to increase reward multipliers? Or what is there a plan to overall improve the game over the next 6 to 12 months? Because keep in mind, they could just do a Gaussian on us and basically just, say, oh, we're going to sprinkle in a couple of changes here and there, and then do it over a period of 6 months, and then just basically forget about the whole entire reason the community started this backlash in the first place. So again, it's unknown, but I hope for solidifying changes and decent enough and explained paragraphs and points of interest. That's what I'm hoping for. A devlog post or maybe a video explanation would be fantastic as well, and then wider, some more critical points about what they're going to do right now, because without action, these words, these devlogs mean fucking nothing. We haven't seen anything from them, and I sincerely hope that they are trying to work and improve on the feedback that they have received from the community in the last 2 to 3 weeks, because it is vitally important for the game's health. Being a 10-year-old game, despite its popularity, people were generally on board with and generally unhappy with the way that the game has been developing. And I've talked to a lot of other content creators and community members and people from the wider community, and they all tend to agree that, yeah, it's not just repair costs, it's the game's management that is at fault here. So hopefully something changes. The biggest thing you can do is not give them your money, but if you're really desperate to give them your money, at least give me 3% of it by getting my decal in the link in the description down below. Thanks.